Some say it was inevitable. Governor Andrew Cuomo of New York has resigned and will leave office in 14 days. A stunning fall from grace for a man once considered one of America's most popular Democratic politicians. The governor defended himself until the end against an AG report that found he sexually harassed 11 women. Cuomo said he's never crossed the line with anyone, acknowledging, though, the scandal had become too much of a distraction for him in the job. He is arguably the biggest casualty in the Me Too era since Harvey Weinstein, a swift, brutal fall for grace from a once beloved governor, and indeed he was an icon in the early pandemic. The international attention in 2020, his press conferences and media appearances resonated with New Yorkers and found favour globally. That reputation has gone in tatters, if you like, and the governor's admitted times have changed.
I take full responsibility for my actions. I have been too familiar with people. My sense of humor can be insensitive and off-putting. I do hug and kiss people casually, women and men. I have done it all my life. It's who I've been since I can remember. In my mind, I've never crossed the line with anyone. But I didn't realize the extent to which the line has been redrawn.
Gloria Allred is with me. She represents one of the women accusing Cuomo of sexual harassment. She joins me from Los Angeles to talk about the case in its wider ground. Gloria, good to see you. Thank you. Times have changed. The line has moved, and I did not realise how far the line had gone. I'm just a dinosaur who didn't realise things aren't as they used to be. You don't accept that, do you?
No, I don't. And thank you for inviting me, Richard. I would like to also say that I actually represent 3 persons who allege that they are victims of Governor Cuomo, and that is Sherry Ville. And we have done a press conference with her in the past showing the governor grabbing and kissing her. In addition, I represent Susan Iannucci, with whom I just did a press conference today, who was also not only grabbed and kissed by the governor, but then the governor used her as a defense to the New York Attorney General's report and placed a video of her being kissed by the governor and grabbed by him as part of his defense that he gave to the press. And finally, I also do represent the state trooper whose experience with the governor is described in the New York Attorney General's report, and who is also described as a victim of the Attorney General. In response to what you played, the governor attempted to, in his announcement that he was resigning, suggest that there has been a generational and a cultural shift. That is true, but in a way it's irrelevant because the governor is a lawyer. He knew that which he did was inappropriate. He knows the laws against sexual harassment. He just engaged in high risk-taking, and now he has to face the consequences of his risk-taking. There is a legal reckoning now, and there's also a political reckoning.
Gloria, with that legal and political reckoning, the governor, some would say properly, sort of didn't go at the first whiff. Waited, and arguably, you know, he should have gone sooner once the AG's report had come out. Do you see any change in the way these cases will be viewed by victims and assailants as a result of the way the governor handled himself?
Absolutely. There is a change, but also that change has been evolving and coming for quite a long time. I represented the key prosecution witness, the main witness in the case, criminal case against Harvey Weinstein in New York, Mimi. And in that case, a jury convicted Harvey Weinstein of criminal sexual assault against Meany. And because of that conviction, he was sentenced to 20 years in state prison. So juries now really are taking seriously these allegations of sexual assault, sexual battery. And I'm very happy because this is significant in the quest that many women have for justice.
And as finally, the lesson learned here is what? I mean, besides don't do these things in the first place, because there are many men of a certain age who still tonight will say, well, I don't think the governor intended. And I know the view is, doesn't matter what you intend, it's what the victim felt or the victim responded. But there will be many who say, come on, he didn't intend it. What would you say to them tonight?
I would say, Richard, that he used his power, his influence, his prestige to hurt women. And now his power, his influence, and his prestige will no longer shield him from the consequences of his wrongful and, in some cases, potentially criminal acts. So all of you who are thinking of just grabbing and hurting women or girls or even men, think before you act. Just remember, keep your hands to yourself, because otherwise there could be consequences for you too.
Gloria, thank you. I appreciate you joining us. Thank you. It is, of course, incumbent upon me to remind the dear viewer that the governor does, of course, still deny that which has been of which he has been accused. But Gloria, I'm grateful that you were with us tonight.